Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another session of our live virtual training. Nice to meet you all. My name is Jay. I am one of the education specialists here at LMN and your host for today. So in this session, I'm going to be taking you through everything you need to know about scheduling maintenance jobs and the various features and methods you can utilize in our software. So we're going to go through all of the different ways to successfully schedule out your maintenance or recurring type of work, show you how to assign that to a particular crew, and really spread the work across days based on your estimated hours. So a lot of cool features to make your life as admins much easier and cooler. So let's get ahead and start with our main game plan for today's training. So we're first going to go ahead and take a look at some of the scheduling settings that will be put in place to set your foundation for using this tool within LMN. So that's going to include two of the key pillars, which will be work calendars, in addition to your schedule crews. Now, a quick refresher and reminder for those of you who attended our schedule design build training earlier this morning, there will be some aspects that kind of are going to be a little bit of a refresher for you, but my examples for today are going to be tailored specifically towards your maintenance side of schedule. Now, once we have that initial foundation set up and good to go, I'm then going to go ahead, pull up a job that we built out together from last week and show you how to schedule that service work for your crews in the field. And then along the way with some of the different methods towards the second part of today's training, I'm going to show you some more advanced and efficient ways to use scheduling for your recurring work, such as through the bulk scheduling tool, in addition to using the schedule waitlist. Finally, going to wrap this up with some cool reporting in LMN, some of the bulk edit features when it comes to managing your entire job schedule, and to make things nice and easy to ensure you have all the jobs ready to go on your calendar. So that's going to be our main agenda for today. Now, as always, if you do have any questions for me as I'm going through today's content, definitely hit up the chat or the Q&A. More than happy to work through those with you. In addition to that, if your company is currently going through onboarding and not everything is fully set up in your account, if you do come across any company-specific or maybe confidential questions, I highly encourage you to save them for your next onboarding meeting. So with that said, time now to talk a little bit more about the schedule tool, just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page here. So when I talk about scheduling, essentially, this is going to be a tool which will help you to efficiently plan and schedule jobs to ensure better work and optimization in the field. So it really allows you to visualize what jobs you have going on, when can you schedule different jobs for any additional work as your customer signs off on that maintenance contract, and then see where you can fit in any work before, between, or after other jobs have been completed. So overall, another way to help you become more profitable and efficient. Now, there are tons and tons of benefits when it comes to the schedule tool. Number one, it's going to help to plan your workload ahead of time. So that way, once your customer signs off on that contract, you build a job off of that estimate, you schedule that job right away and coordinate with your customer based on their time. Now, at the same time, I'm sure some of you on today's call, feel free at any point to raise your hand. How many of you are going through a manual procedure for scheduling, maybe through a Excel spreadsheet, or through maybe it's going to be through book and paper, or even I've heard some contractors in the industry using WhatsApp for scheduling. Okay, I see quite a few of you raising your hand there. So I'm going to show you how to eliminate that entire process and basically automate it for you. So you've seen from the CRM to your estimates, then to your jobs for time tracking. Same thing will apply for scheduling. So once we get it onto the schedule, your crews will be able to view it all from the crew app. Now, very, very handy when it comes to your maintenance and recurring side of the business. This is going to be a focus point in the second half today, where I cover the bulk schedule tool. So if any of you on today's call are looking to schedule hundreds of jobs all in one shot, this is super useful for your maintenance work because you're going to be visiting multiple customers each and every single day. there's also the ability to optimize those routes. So that way your crews will be more efficient in the field, less time driving around randomly, and more time getting work done at the job site. They have a faster order to go from job site A to job site B, and so on. So definitely keep those in mind. These are going to be a key way to distinguish the design build from the maintenance side of things, because there's a little bit more automation you're going to see. Now, let's talk about those two main pillars as part of our settings. First up, we have the work calendars. So quite a few of you, I'm sure, have various divisions within your company or different departments. You want to break those down by establishing a work calendar. That way, for example, if you have a maintenance work calendar, or you want to specify it by irrigation repairs or fertilization applications, whatever the case might be, you want to program a unique work calendar so those types of jobs can be scheduled to that specific calendar. Now, at the same time, it's going to help things be more efficient, because if you have particular managers or leaders who are responsible for that division, when they log into LMN, they can apply unique filters to see only the jobs that pertain to that department. Okay, so we want to keep it nice and organized. Now, earlier today, you would have learned about one of the types of work calendars, which is called non-recurring. So that's more for install or design build type of work, where one visit to a job site may span across multiple days or weeks, depending on the total number of hours estimated. But in this case, we're going to focus today on the recurring work calendar. There's going to be some unique properties when it comes to setting this up. And again, mainly going to be used for your maintenance or recurring work, where you provide your customer multiple visits, and you basically provide those visits on a regular basis, such as like your weekly mowing or cleanups, whatever the case might be. Does that give you a better understanding when it comes to the different work calendars? So far, so good here? Okay, perfect. So let's keep things going, and now let's go straight into demonstration. Thank you for a thumbs up, appreciate that. So I'm going to log into LMN, and once I am logged in, I will be on the main screen, as you can see right over here on the main dashboard. So as always, for any of the different tools within the software, we want to go into our settings, find the tool. So in this case, it's scheduling, and here are all of the key properties that we want to break down. Now, before I even get into this, a quick heads up for you all that regardless on which subscription type you're on with LMN, either the starter, the professional, or the enterprise, when it comes to the schedule tool, the calendars, the whiteboard, all of these key features, it's going to be available to all of you. So that's the best part. Now, keep in mind, though, if you are on the starter level subscription with LMN, you won't have access to like live crew and job tracking. That's going to be more so with professional and enterprise. So if you want to manage that job progress in real time, see where your crews are at all times, you would want to upgrade to the professional and enterprise level. So just keep that in mind. But when it comes to scheduling, you're good to go across the board. Clear so far? All right, perfect. So getting started, when we go into the schedule tool, we'll go ahead into our work calendars. This is that first primary pillar we want to cover. So on my screen, you can see I have a variety of different work calendars on this list, anywhere from cleanup to design build, FERT applications, and so on. We have declared the type, is it recurring or non-recurring? We have a unique color code, when it's last edited, and if it's active to use for scheduling out our jobs. So to start off and to reference our job we're going to schedule out today, we're going to build a brand new work calendar. We're going to call that our live virtual training for maintenance. That's going to be recurring. And now we can program that status, select a default manager, and then we come to the unique color code. Can anyone take any guesses as to why this is going to be super important to set this up in advance? Keeps things nice and organized. Absolutely. Do we have any other guesses here? Helps to distinguish various jobs. Absolutely, are all on the right track. So that way we can program exactly what that color code is, and then we'll go to our calendar view to be able to distinguish each job from one another. So for now, we can go ahead and program what is going to be that unique color code. We can program the default crew size. So this will help to calculate how long a job would take. Now, this is only here as a reference, but when you schedule a job, you can override this. So let's say, for example, select that. And then the unproductive hours per day. So the time spent not working, so we don't overbook. So let's say it's going to be 30 minutes, so 0.5. I'll lock that in, and there we go. Our work calendar has been added. And another key reminder for you all, the more and more you continue to grow with the LMN software, you can break this down to be very work related. In other words, if you have certain types of services you offer within that main maintenance division, such as like FERD applications, we have outdoor kitchens, we have pool installations, whatever that case might be, depending on the type of work your company is focusing on, you can always add that in. So if we want to go ahead and add in a brand new one for today, and that's going to be our irrigation repairs, I can go ahead and add in a brand new work calendar. So that will be for my irrigation repairs, right? So another good way to do that. We'll set it up to recurring, do the same thing. And that way we basically have a unique work calendar, and maybe I'll just adjust colors, and we have obviously a good unique difference. Okay, so that way we can know how to distinguish each of those different jobs accordingly. Okay, so that is basically the first main pillar. So here's just a reminder of some of those best practices. Remember to set these up based on the division or key focus point of work that your company is going to be providing to your end clients. At the same time, once a job is scheduled onto a work calendar, it cannot be changed. So what this means is if by chance you're to assign a design build job or one-time job onto those recurring work calendars by accident, you can't automatically flip it. You do need to delete it from where it was first, and then you'll be able to reschedule it accordingly. And finally, choose that unique color code. Makes things nice and easier, especially as you're using the calendar view to show all of your different types of work. Okay. Now, let's talk about the schedule crews. So now that we basically have our work calendars established, so we know where jobs are going to be scheduled onto, let's talk about those different crews. So these will be used to designate which crews are to be assigned for different types of work on your schedule. So maybe you have a maintenance crew or an irrigation crew. You want to set those up individually. So that way you can be able to select that designated crew per job. Okay, so we'll go back into LMN. And we're going to head over into our settings. We'll go into our schedule crews. Same exact idea, but this time, because it's our scheduled crews, we can see we have our cleanup crew, some design build crews, bird crew, gardening crew, lighting, maintenance, and so on. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier, the more and more you continue to grow with LMN, you can keep this as detailed as you want it. You would then assign a crew size, the default crew lead, and then the color code. So I'm going to add a brand new one for today. Let's add our maintenance crew. And I'm going to say this is maintenance crew A. I can then program in brackets what is that crew size going to be. So it helps keep things nice and easy. We'll go ahead here. And another quick note to keep in mind is we always want to make sure we're not choosing either white or those bright highlighter colors, because you're going to see that the text font color and how that will distinguish the jobs in the calendar view a little bit later. So we want to make sure we're able to clearly see and have visible jobs on our calendar so that we're not freaking out and we know that we have scheduled them out and we're good to go. Okay. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and program another color here. We'll lock that in. Okay, so there we go. And then we can go ahead and let's say we want to add in another one, and maybe that's going to be our LBT maintenance B. Say maybe 5. Okay, so now we have 2 unique crews that we can choose from when we're scheduling out our maintenance job later today. But those are pretty much the 2 main key pillars. Further to that in your settings, if you're on the design build training, you may recall the holiday setup. This is where you can program that. But for now, I want to go into our schedule settings, because once you're ready to go and schedule out a job, you want to be able to have an easy defaulted format of how your jobs will look like on the schedule. So just like you program your estimate name, if you attended that training last week, the same thing comes to the schedule side. So we want to make sure we program what this sample preview will look like. So all of our jobs scheduled onto the calendar in LMN will match that format. So in this case, same idea, we have naming components 1, 2, and 3. Within each, you have a list of options to choose from. So currently it's job name, job address, and yes, we give you 2 customizable options to put in whatever data that you want, so you can keep it very business specific. Currently, we just have it set to this here. Now, if I want to adjust this a little bit, as you can see, that will change right within there. Beyond job short name. Maybe for custom text 1, we're going to change that to service. So that way all of our jobs will have that. Finally, you can go ahead and choose a unique separator icon, and that format will be maintained. Okay, so for now, we'll just leave it to this here. Lock that in, and that's pretty much it when it comes to those settings. So let's head back here just to talk about some of those key best practices for the scheduled crews. So remember to name your crew based on the work type. Easier to do so this way than a person's name, because if that crew leader manager leaves that crew, you'll need to go and change it. So we want to make sure you use the crew type as that specific name. Also, choose a unique color code. So just like work calendars, we don't want to choose white, otherwise we won't be able to see those job names. And finally, choose a default crew lead. So that way, when they log into the crew app, they'll be able to see any jobs scheduled to the crews they're defaulted to. Okay, so it keeps things nice and organized. Now, at this point, there's another element that I want to cover before we get into the different methods of scheduling out our maintenance work. And this is going to be unique to the recurring side of the business. So if you attended our training this morning for the design build session, it's going to be slightly different. So with maintenance, we have something called schedule templates. So think of these as kind of like a service package that you create to group various services from your company together, or even better, if you want to have a master template of every single service your company offers to your customers, you can build a template from them. When you're building it out, you can provide the dates that you will be providing those services. So every time you schedule a job with any of those services, LMN knows exactly when to schedule it out. So it makes things nice and efficient when it comes to scheduling those recurring work where there's multiple visits throughout the given season. Now, it's very important to know that there are 3 different schedule types when you're adding in your services to that schedule template. So what do I mean by this? Basically, we have manual, weekly, and waitlist. So the first is manual. This is where strictly you need to know the dates automatically that those services will be taking place throughout the year. So let's say, for example, bed maintenance, you have a specific date, or maybe there's 3 bed maintenance visits throughout the year. You want to go ahead and plug that in so you know it's set up in advance. Second, very common in industry is weekly. So more for regular recurring visits. So it doesn't have to take place every week, but you can indicate an interval. Common example would be like weekly mowing or bi-weekly mowing. could take place every week or maybe every 2 weeks. You can program that in the template. And finally, wait list. So if you know a specific date range, but you're not sure which date exactly the service will take place, or your crews have the opportunity to complete that, you can still plug that into your template in advance to build out that schedule type. And a common example would be with your spring cleanup, fall cleanup, for some of you dealing with irrigation, the startup and shutdowns. Those will be some common areas where you want to program your schedule type of the wait list. Let me see here. I have a question coming in here. So this may be for another training, but is there a fast and easy way to change crews on a daily basis? A lot of the times we are shuffling employees morning due to absences or fluctuations in workload. I really do appreciate that question. This is definitely going to lead to when I talk about the whiteboard tool within the software. You're going to see how that's going to be a big game changer for you, because easily if a crew falls sick for the day or whatever the case might be, you can just drag and drop that job onto another crew, and easily you can reassign it just like that. You can also do some ways through the job itself from the calendar view or the job visit screen. But trust me, you're in for a treat when I go through some of those different methods when we actually schedule out our jobs and talk about those different methods. Did that align well to your question there? Just wanted to make sure. So with crew members within the specific crews, so I'm not sure if you're part of our job creation training last week, but specifically when it comes to actually the crew members within the actual mobile app, there are ways to set up like the default crews in that, and I'll kind of show you that through my crew app demo a little bit later, but it's not kind of like an automation built out just yet. I don't have any sort of timeline from development on that rollout, but definitely this is something we'll continue to keep considering across the board. Does that make sense? Okay. I think I had a question. Someone raised their hand. Did you want to let me know through the chat for the Q&A? Okay, if the question comes to mind, just definitely hit the chat or Q&A. More than happy to work through that with you. Okay, so now that we have that foundation when it comes to the different schedule types, I want to take you now into the schedule template features specifically, and then we're going to be able to build one out together. So go back into LMN. And we'll go into our schedule and go to schedule templates. So as you can see, currently on my account, I have a variety of different schedule templates built out. We have one of the masters for this year for all our maintenance related services. We have a gold, silver, and bronze package. So as I mentioned, there's two ways to build this out. One could be an entire master for all the services your company offers, and another way is to break them down by different tiers or packages. There's also some I have for testing purposes. Now for today, let's start by exploring our master for this year. Here's where you can see I've declared the service from site inspection all the way to irrigation shutdown. We have the type, is it manual, waitlist, or weekly? We've then declared how often that will take place, so through the interval. And then the dates, so when do we actually offer those services throughout the year? So for example, if I take a look at lawn care, that's going to be weekly, and every 2 weeks, meaning bi-weekly, from this date to this date, a visit will be provided. Then going to weekly from this date to this date, and finally every 2 weeks from this date to that. So as you can see, you can program it based on different intervals, such as let's say the low season, the high season, and the off season. So that's how that can be understood with this. So we're going to be referencing this one throughout the training, but just to give you kind of the step-by-step, we'll go ahead and add a brand new one for today. And I'm going to call that my master template for, let's say, next season. And we want to start by declaring our services. So just to give you kind of a bigger picture here. So let's say I am a new company. I only offer 3 services, kind of like a startup. I don't have the capacity. Well, the first thing I will do is go to add service. And from my list of services that I have, I will go ahead and choose the first one being, let's say, mowing. So mowing is going to be, let's say, weekly. The calendar, I'll select the one we built out earlier. The manager. Then we can detect what the crew size is going to be, unproductive time, and targeted visits. Let's enter that as well. Now I can go ahead and add in the dates. So let's say for this case, we're going to have different intervals, such as that low season, high season, off season. So I'm going to go ahead and let's say for next season, we're going to add those in. And this is going to be bi-weekly, let's say. When I add the next interval, LMN recognizes the next available starting date, so we can plug that in. And let's say I'm going to add the final one. It's bi-weekly, and there we go. 24 target visits and estimated visits. Click on save, and that is locked in. So what happens now is anytime a job comes its way with this mowing service in it, and this template gets selected, they'll be scheduled based on those intervals, right? So you're programming this well in advance to help you stay organized. Now let's add in another service, but this time we're going to use a different schedule type. So let's say bed maintenance. We're going to use manual. We'll do the same work calendar. Let's say maybe 2 visits. So I'm going to add those visits, and let's say okay, so I've locked those in, and as you can see, those have been added. Finally, let's go and add one of our cleanups. Let's say maybe it's going to be the fall cleanup in this case. We'll use the wait list option this time. And as you can see, you can program a priority level. In addition to that, you can set a warning. So what this means is LMN will warn you when it comes time to that date, and if you have not taken off that service from the wait list and put that onto your work calendar. So there we go. Template is built out. As you can see, you want to keep it based on your business operations, keep it as specific as you can, and then your template is locked in. So let's say that is our master for next season. Now, what if we want to create more of like a service package where we offer, let's say, for example, a bronze package where we only offer the mowing service? But if the customer chooses that option, we can go ahead and we can click on the clone template. We'll call this our template for next season, and that will be a bronze one. Everything, as you can see, carries over. I just need to remove the remaining services. And look how quick and easy that is. If I go to my templates, I have a master for next season, and I have my bronze package. Pretty straightforward, right? You have any questions on that so far? Did you all catch on to that efficiency there when it comes to building out the schedule template well in advance? Okay, perfect. So as always, I want to make sure I leave you with some of those best practices. So as I mentioned, schedule templates are strictly for your recurring work calendars only. So if you caught there when I chose the actual work calendar, they were only pulling my recurring work calendars from my settings. You can't find or select it for your non-recurring jobs. As mentioned, you can also build these in such a way that you offer different customer packages or tiers and then reassign the different number of visits or services within each. And yes, even the wait list is a schedule type option. So if you already know what service you provide and it'll be on a wait list method, might as well go ahead and program that well in advance on your schedule template. So it helps makes things nice and easy when it comes to scheduling out those related jobs. So now that we have that full foundation and everything covered off over there, super excited to bring you through the different methods now to schedule out your maintenance work. So you may already recall this from a training earlier this morning from the 3 methods: job list, whiteboard, and calendar. But again, there are some different steps involved for your recurring work. So I'm still going to cover that in the first half of today's training. As we move into the later half, I'll cover some of those advanced methods through the bulk schedule tool, in addition to using the schedule waitlist. So starting with the first method, once that estimate contract was signed off by your customer and you built a job, within that job screen, there is a way for you to keep track of scheduled visits that have been completed specifically tailored to that job. So this is the first method that we're going to go through. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my job list. And you all may recall our popular customer of our training, Mr. Mark John. So he's going to be our go-to again. So I'm going to go into my jobs and we'll navigate to our job list. So we'll go ahead, find that job that we built out earlier. And as a quick little refresher and reminder what this job entails. So if I go into my tasks, which my crews are going to use to track their hours again. So we have our mowing, beds, and fertilization, in addition to 2 other tasks as well. Because it's a maintenance job, we have our service. So as you can see, we have each of the services with the unique billing type. And then if I go to my materials and equipment, I will be able to see that information as well. So all of that is listed right over there. And then basically, if I go into my schedule tool, this is where I can go into schedule visits, but currently nothing is scheduled out for this job. So this is the first area of the method when it comes to through the job page, where I'll go ahead and add a new scheduled visit. I will select recurring job. And there's my description for my settings. So as mentioned, I can always go ahead and actually change this if I wanted to. And I can name it whatever that I prefer. Okay. If you have a work order number, you can plug that in as well. And then there is that schedule template option. So as you can see here on recurring jobs, you'll get this right away. I'm going to select that master that we had for this season. And now automatically LMN will detect what services this job has versus the services that are in the template. So that's another reminder for you to make sure that you have all of those services within your job to begin with. Okay, so we'll match that to our task. We can see the number of visits and total hours. Same thing for beds and fertilization. Now, when I click on next, this is where all of the math and calculation will take place for you. So if I go ahead to each of these services, remember I was telling you that if by accident you scheduled like a one-time job onto the recurring calendar, whatever the case might be, this is where you can catch to make sure you're scheduling it to the correct work calendar. So here I will select our maintenance one and select the weekday, choose the assigned crew. So let's say we're going to do that one. And as you can see, the crew size is here, but we can always override. So once I am actually suggesting or selecting basically that crew size, I will see that the duration will be changing accordingly. So if this crew size is going to be there, you can see the duration is automatically calculated for it. Let's go ahead with our bed maintenance and do the same thing. And finally, we'll go to fertilization. And there we go. Click on finish. And just like that, we have 18 new visits that have been added to our job schedule. So from this job page, if you go to details, you can see all of those visits for your reference based on what service you scheduled out. Best part about this is if you want to capture all of this information right away, simply go to print, and you can generate in a matter of seconds a report with all of that data inputted there for you. You don't need to take a screenshot. You can print this out and save it on your desk for reference. Okay. On top of that, if you wanted to make any changes to these visits, so let's say, for example, I want to change this to today's date. When I have this pop up, you could see information for today. You could see a visit status option and daily instructions. You'll see the job task summary. You'll see edit today. So all of that information is going to be there. So if I want to move this to a new date, let's say it's going to begin on today's date, you can change a crew if you wanted, and we can apply those changes. And then as you can see, it's been updated. You also have the power to make changes to the entire job schedule from this section as well. Okay, so once that is good to go, you're locked in, everything is listed there for your reference. So that is the first method of basically going to the job page itself and scheduling it onto the calendar from there. All right, so just a couple of best practices I want to highlight. As you can see, very important to schedule the job right after that job was created off of the estimate, coordinate with your customer based on the time frame. And then also go ahead and use that print schedule feature. So then you can generate a report of all those scheduled visits for your reference. Now the whiteboard calendar view, I'm going to talk about that in a moment. So first up, we have our calendar. So this is the second method, as you can see, as part of scheduling your recurring type of work. So more in terms of a calendar view where you have the ability to see all your scheduled jobs by day, week, or month. And let's go ahead and bring that up here. Right, so if I go ahead into my schedule tool and I go to my calendar view, as you can see, we have these three options: month, week, or the daily view, right? So you have three different ones. You can see for today, we have quite a few different jobs that have been scheduled out. On top of all of that, we have these filters at the very top. Very important to keep track of. So that way we make sure all of our jobs are going to be listed. And as you can see, that's why I said we want to make sure we have a unique color code because the job names are in white font. So we don't want to go ahead and program that. Otherwise, we're going to be scrambling to find the jobs we scheduled. So as we can see, those are selected. We'll select our crews. Okay, so we have all those crews selected. And then all managers. And then this is where you can show between crew and work calendar codes. So you can choose which one you want to follow when it comes to breaking that down. And if you do have some team members who work on weekends, you can also use the show weekend option as well. So if I go ahead and I look at today, we can see right away that we have two of these jobs we scheduled out for today, just moments ago. If I open that up, you will see the same pop-up window that I took you through earlier. So here we can see that there's mowing. And if I go to the final one, and maybe I'm just going to go to the week for a second. And we can see fertilization as well. So if I want to add any sort of daily instructions in there, I can plug that in. And then later on through the Crew Mobile app, I'll be able to see all of that key information. So let's say we're actually going to go ahead through the mowing. This is maybe the one we're going to clock into today. Do you have any volunteers who want to jump in there quickly through the chat, throw in a couple notes here that we can add for our crews when it comes to the mowing service? Anything at all that comes to mind? Okay, so I have some of it coming through. Okay, if anyone else has some additional points to add, definitely let me know, but I'm going to keep it as is. Okay, so that is all locked in there. So we have some daily instructions locked in. Okay, so based on that information now, as mentioned, this is the second method to schedule out your recurring work. So if you want to do so from the calendar view itself, simply go to Actions and then click on Add Work to Schedule. This is where you can then select recurring job. This time, because you're not on the job page, you need to go through your entire job list, find that job or sort by a job group, and then follow the exact same process. Now, when it comes to weather-related issues, and if there is something where a job needs to be rescheduled accordingly, or whatever the case might be, you have a drag and drop feature, very similar to what you may recall from the design build schedule train this morning. But essentially, the way it will work is instead of clicking on that, going to job edit today, and then going and moving it to a new date, all you need to do is take that job and drag and drop. Okay, so quick and easy way, doesn't get simpler than that. Okay, so that's just another item to kind of consider. Further to all of that, if you want to print out this view, you can go to Actions and then you can print your calendar. So another advanced capability. So for now, let's just say that both of these are going to be listed for today. And again, when we get into Crew app, we'll come back to that, see how that will take place. Okay. So a reminder, some of the best practices, number one being that drag and drop feature. So if you easily need to reschedule it to another date, you can always use that drag and drop capability. You can also filter by work calendar, schedule crews, the date, and manager. You can view or update the scheduled job status, in addition to those daily instructions we added to that pop-up window earlier. All right, so the final one for the first half today is going to be the whiteboard view. So think of this more of a daily view, but based on any of the jobs assigned to particular crews, or if they're unassigned, how you can actually quickly assign or drag and drop them to be assigned to a specific crew through the whiteboard interface. So let me go and bring that up. We're going to navigate back to our schedule tool. Go into our whiteboard. Okay, and as you can see, we do have some that are unassigned, and we do have all of our crews listed. We have some that are under daily. I want to make sure that we only pull up, let's say, for example, let me just make sure we have, okay, so we do have our maintenance ones. I just want to deselect the design build ones for now. Okay, so quite a few different crews in my account, helps things nice and organized, right? To really sort through this whenever you need to readjust things. Okay, so let me say, we're just gonna move some of these over. So as you can see, a quick drag and drop feature. If I go ahead and I actually move my cursor over, I can also go and edit. So this gives me the power to have another pop-up window right? So if I want to go ahead and edit information for today, or see the job task summary, or edit the entire job schedule. So a lot of different capabilities there. You can also go and delete, and this gives you 3 different options to choose from as well. So you don't need to go into the job page and delete it from there. You can do it from the screen. So let me just go and move this over. And what's pretty intuitive about this, you can see as I'm moving it, the scroll bar will also come through there. So it makes things nice and efficient. Just a heads up for you. Okay, so I'm just gonna move the final one here. Okay, now let's narrow this down even further, because what I want to go through is the ones that we're going to focus for today, which is going to be our maintenance crews. And let's say we're going to only focus on not everyone, but a few of them. Okay, perfect. So if you see here, we have the ones for today, obviously the mowing and fertilization. I can also go ahead and let's say we're going to have another one that's going to be added. Let me just go and move that one over. And this is a great way to kind of get set up and ready to go when it comes to the actual route optimization. So I'm going to kind of highlight that for your reference. Okay. So now some of the other capabilities here, if I go to crew actions, I have the ability to use that route optimization. So I'm going to come back to this a little bit later, but for now, as you can see, this is where you can optimize, show on the map, and then that order will be maintained accordingly. You can also go ahead to actions and you can print a crew daily. So another report. So in case your crews want a printout or a hard copy of all the job sites they need to go for the day with notes and everything included, you can simply go and print off this. I'll just show you what information is going to be listed. Okay, so all of these are going to be listed for your team as well. So a lot of key information is going to be listed over there. And if I go to crew actions, there are some additional capabilities such as adding work to schedule, view on map, unscheduled route, reorder future routes. So if I want to actually do any of that, I can go to whiteboard actions and follow the same thing. So if I go here and I actually add work to schedule, this is where method number 3 comes into effect, where I would basically select my recurring job. It's basically identical to what we are doing. It's just a little bit of a different format and look to it. And as you can see, all of that key information will be listed. You simply will just go ahead, select that maintenance job, and same idea. Description, work order number, choose a template. So if I were to use the master, and then go and schedule it accordingly. So that is basically the whiteboard interface. Hopefully by now you can see anytime you have like a crew that falls in sick for the day or anything around that nature, you have the ability to quickly readjust and reassign it to a different crew as well. And also if you wanted to go ahead and make changes in bulk, you can always go to the select all visits, and then you can make changes here and do things from there as well. Okay. For now, I'm just going to leave it unselect. Okay. So that's basically that. And I'll give you some of those best practices. So remember to apply your date and crew filters accordingly so you know exactly which jobs you're looking to see on your job schedule. Utilize that drag and drop feature to move jobs in between different crews. You can use the route optimization feature, add unscheduled routes, and also use that crew daily report as well. So with that being said, we've covered pretty much all of the first three methods for scheduling your recurring type of work. At this point, I want to give you a quick sneak peek of the LMN Crew Mobile app, just so that way you can see our crew lead can easily view that information through the crew. So with that said, I'm going to bring it up on my screen. Just give me a quick moment here. All right, just give me a quick thumbs up. You can see my phone screen. All right, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. So let's say I'm the crew lead here. First thing I want to go ahead and do is go into what am I working on? And basically, instead of searching through pages and pages of a job, simply go to my crew schedule, select the crew, and all of those jobs are listed out for me. Okay, so all of that information listed right away. So if I go ahead into the actual job itself, and let's say I select the mowing, this is where I can immediately see any of those instructions that were listed for that actual job site, right? So it's all listed out there. I could see my crew. Now, again, just per the question I got a little bit earlier, you do have the ability to go and actually deselect and then select which crew members that you want to go ahead and add into the specific list. Again, based on your subscription level that you're on, because there's different inclusion of the count and licenses that you have availability to. But for now, basically, if I want to go ahead, I can actually select specific team members. So let's say it's going to be myself, choose some other team members. We can say, for example, just for a purpose of this example, let's say I'm ready to go ahead and clock in. I'm going to just backdate this a little bit. Okay. Clock in. There are the instructions. Okay, and let's just fast track. Let me say that that was done. Okay, so now with the schedule tool, you'll be able to see all of this key information as well. So let's say I'm going to go to mowing. So mowing is completed. And then I'll go ahead and if there are any materials used, and I can go ahead and basically say it's done. Add any photos if I wanted to. And then clock it. Okay, so all of that is basically going to be good to go. And then final thing, we want to make sure we review that timesheet. Give me 1 second. There we go. So we can review our crew score. And then scroll down and submit that timesheet. If any breaks were taken. And that's all logged in. Okay. So basically now, if I were to go ahead back into desktop side for a quick moment. Let's say I'm going to view exactly that date. Whatever was completed, the status will be updated for my reference right on the fly. So now I know that visit status was updated. I can go into that job visit and immediately you could see that information from the group. Further to that, if I go into jobs and I go into, let me go into my schedule tool, and go to the calendar view. And I go today, I will see that little check mark that has been added as well. So that knows that service has been completed accordingly. Did that kind of make sense from that start to end finish and that process when it comes to scheduling it out from the office, your crew clocking into it through the crew app, completing it, and how you can review all of that finalized information in the office? We good to go on that? Any additional questions there? Just want to make sure that's crystal clear. Okay, perfect. So with that being said, at this point, I just want to make sure if you do have any additional questions, go ahead through the chat or the Q&A. Definitely let me know if something comes to mind. While you're thinking and submitting those questions, highly encourage you all to take about a 5 minutes break, grab a coffee, grab a water, whatever you need to do to stay recharged. And then I'll continue the second half of a training in about 5 minutes. See you soon. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great, refreshing break there. I saw some questions rolling through in the chat, so I just jumped ahead, shared some feedback there with you all. So hopefully you're all set with that. So basically in the second half, basically I want to cover those other two methods to schedule your jobs in the most efficient way when it comes to your recurring type of work. So first, we're going to kind of talk about the bulk scheduling tool that will really allow you to schedule one service for a variety of customers to save you some incredibly valuable time. So before I get into my demo, always recommend that you schedule a job immediately once that job has been created off of the estimate. And with the schedule template set up, that will allow you to schedule all services for one customer. But bulk scheduling will allow you to schedule one particular service for multiple customers. So let's just say that you have about 10 to 15 different customers in the same neighborhood that require a mowing service to be completed. You can use the bulk schedule for that type of scenario. So let's go ahead specifically into the bulk schedule, and then we're going to choose an example for some of the services. So I'll go into LMN. We're going to navigate back into our schedule tool and head over to the bulk schedule. So currently on this screen, I don't see any jobs. I only see a map. So it works similar in your case based on what you have programmed in your account. Now, the first thing we need to do is to make sure that we filter based on the job group and the service to detect exactly what type of services we're trying to schedule. Because if I leave it set up as that and I click on search, LMN will then give me a warning that I need to select a service. Because it's kind of like I'm telling LMN, can you please find all of the jobs with all of the services, like schedule everything at once. Well, that doesn't really make sense. So what we need to go ahead and do is filter this out. So I'm going to go to my groups. Let's say I want to filter by my cleanups. And then let's go ahead and choose a service. So already you can tell that another reminder to make sure in order to use the bulk schedule tool, your jobs have services added to them. Okay. So now if I click on search, let's take a look and we can see that we have a bunch of jobs pinned on the map, approximately in the same neighborhood. So as you can see, all of these different jobs, in this case, 8 of them, will have that specific cleanup service that's going to be linked to them. So you want to make sure for any of those irregular recurring services, you have that all locked in and good to go. So there's 2 ways to begin here when it comes to bulk schedule. I can either select them individually, and they will show up on the right side for me. Or to stay even more efficient, because especially if I had like a large number, like over 50 plus jobs on this map, I would need to zoom in, make sure I pinpoint every single one. That's going to be very time consuming. So as a most efficient method, we recommend you draw a shape around that area or that neighborhood. And now I can select all of them. Immediately, you can see they will all show up for me. Now we'll click on schedule. So this is where that bulk scheduling tool comes into effect. The first thing we need to declare is what task are we looking to set up for these jobs, right? Because we need to know what are the crews going to clock into to track their hours. So I will go ahead and type in the name of the task. And automatically, if it's already on the job, you will see that shows up right away. Now, you can always go individually throughout each and adjust it if you need to. But again, this will default it across the board. From here, we can then choose that template. So another reminder why and how important that schedule template will be, because we want LMN to know when to schedule these jobs out in bulk. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and let's go and select our master, and we're going to choose that cleanup service. Next, we can go ahead and choose the crew. So again, remember earlier we were talking about the crew size and being able to override and what that default crew size is. Well, when you choose that crew, the system's going to go ahead and divide the estimated hours based on how many people will be there to indicate the duration for which your crews will be on site. So if I choose one of the scheduled crews here, you can see the duration. if I go ahead and I select this crew, you will see the duration is different. So all of that is done in the backend port. Now, if you want to override the total hours, you can always go to set hours, and then you can set it up in default. So maybe I want to say it's going to be this amount. As you can see, that will take me close to under an hour. Once you have that, you can also go and program your manager. So let's say it's myself. And once you're ready to go, simply click on schedule. And then you want to verify this prompt because it's some important steps because you're about to schedule multiple jobs in one shot. So here we can see each job has the correct service. The crew has been set correctly, and the hours have been set or defaulted correctly. Once you're good to go, type in confirm. And there we go. Our bulk schedule is completed for all 8 of those jobs. Now, you can see the jobs are not pinned anymore. I don't have any more of those gray pins. But if I click on search again, you will see they're also there, but they're in blue. So what does that mean? They're basically scheduled or on the wait list. So does anyone recall the name of that feature I told you that is strictly used for your recurring type of work? How can we determine how these were scheduled? What is that sort of service package I'm referring to required for? We learned this towards the beginning of the training. Anyone have any guesses? The templates, exactly. Schedule templates. So what we'll do, I'm going to just open up a new tab for a moment. We're going to bring up the actual schedule template. And if I go to my master, I can see that the spring cleanup, well, hang on, it's on the wait list. So although I use the bulk schedule, they have now carried over into my schedule wait list. So they're not actually readily available on the calendar view just yet. So this is a way for you to determine based on whether or not they're scheduled or on the wait list. What I can also do, let me just choose one of these jobs. I'll open up that job. And you remember our scheduled visit tab that we saw on the job screen earlier? Well, there's another place for any of the waitlist visits. So I can go here to my schedule, and it looks like we have one waitlist visit, and there's that cleanup. Okay, so another quick way to verify that key information. So that basically is what the bulk schedule is all about. Remember, it's one specific service designated for a variety of customers. So it's still a huge time saver, especially if you have multiple customers in the same geographical location that require that same exact service, right? So definitely want to make sure you use that for your recurring jobs. All right, some of those best practices. So remember to apply your filters accordingly. Choose a specific job group in addition to a particular service. So then you can see all those jobs listed on the map view accordingly. Don't forget to bulk schedule weekly service or irregular type of jobs. And as always, your jobs need to have services in order for bulk scheduling to work with this maintenance jobs. And then finally, you can basically select jobs on a specific area based on a particular crew or day of the week, and then you can schedule them out accordingly. So now let's go ahead and see what our wait list is all about and how we can schedule all of the jobs or take the jobs off of the wait list and put them onto our actual work calendars. So we're going to kind of see what we know we have to do, but you're not sure when you have the opportunity to do them. And those will be jobs that are going to be on your wait list. Okay, so let's go ahead and straight away get into our wait list tool. All right, so as you can see, this is what my wait list looks like. So we have the list view, we have the map view. As you can see to the top, I can add a brand new wait list visit on the fly if I wanted to, just need to pick my job and the service. So that's another way to add jobs onto your wait list. Further to that, from the job screen, under waitlist visits, I can add it over here as well. So either will work for it. Now, on the wait list, you can see here that currently I'm viewing all of the different types of services, so I can filter this out if I wanted to. Otherwise, let's say maybe I want to show as of tomorrow's date and see what we have on the wait list. And on this list view, as you could see, we basically are seeing the status, the priority level, the job details, the crew, the service name, and the due since and due before date. And you can also print this entire waitlist screen. So what we want to first establish before we get into any of the jobs that were just scheduled out onto the waitlist is what these statuses are all referring to. So if I look at these two that are upcoming, that basically means that my template told me to waitlist those services from the range of this date to this date, and we haven't reached there just yet, so it's going to tell us it's upcoming. We still have time to take them off and put them onto our calendar. When it comes to the past due, like we see here, well, we are past whatever that due before date was, so we actually did not put that onto our calendar. That's going to be in red. Then we have attention, such as the ones that we just scheduled in bulk. And as you can see, we're getting very close to the due before date, so we need to make sure we focus on pushing those onto the calendar. And finally, we have the future. So we know that in this case, it begins as of tomorrow onwards, so we still have time, not a today problem. We're going to focus on what's requiring attention or upcoming at this point. Does that make sense to you all in terms of those different statuses and how that's broken down on the wait list? Okay, perfect. In addition to that, you can also program the priority level. So is it low, high, normal, or urgent? And then moments ago, as you remember, we had all of those jobs that carried over into the wait list. So what's really cool about this is instead of just going ahead and pushing these onto the calendar, let's say maybe the crew changes, or maybe the date range changes, or the priority level, we want to move these to urgent. We can go ahead and basically select all of these in one shot in bulk and go to update and edit that. So maybe I'm going to reassign it to a different crew. Say it's going to be this crew. Immediately, they're removed. They're going to be listed here, removed from the other crew, and they're going to be reassigned to that crew. So another quick and easy way to change that crew. Further to that, we can go ahead and take all of these. We can even change a priority level. So let's say I want to change this to all urgent. That will also change for me. And then finally, if we're ready to go with all of these different jobs that we have selected, we can go to promote. And now we can promote it to when we're looking to schedule them out onto our actual calendar. So in this case, I'm going to say that they're going to begin as of, let's say, next Tuesday. I'm going to keep the same crew. We could see the total visits, estimated hours, and duration. Click on save, and they're removed from my wait list. So what that means is if I go into my calendar view now, and I go to next week, and we look at Tuesday, and I'm going to actually narrow this down just to make our life much easier. If I go ahead into, hold on, I'm going to select that crew only. And as you can see, we have all of these visits that are going to be there, right? So all of that will be listed accordingly as part of my spring cleanups. So a quick and easy way to take them off of the wait list, make some edits if you need to, and then push them onto your calendar. Okay, so a lot of bulk capabilities right from this wait list screen. Okay. Now that's the list. If you want to do the same thing, but use the map view because maybe you really like the bulk schedule sort of layout that you have. Under the map view interface, this will allow you to do the same thing. We just need to make sure we select that service. So let's say maybe, I'm going to see if we have some for a different cleanup. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so I'll just zoom out. As you can see, I can grab all of these, select them, and then I can basically schedule them all out and follow the exact same sort of form. So either the list view or the map view, whichever way you want to kind of go about doing that, we have different ways to use that schedule wait list tool. Okay, so really what I want you to remember here is when it comes to that wait list option, basically, you know you have services to complete, but you're not sure when you'll have the opportunity to do them, and those will be those jobs that are going to be listed on your wait list. Once you're ready to go and you have that exact confirmation on when your team has the capacity to complete those services for your customers, you can then go and take them off and promote or push them onto the actual calendar so they can go into the Crew app, clock into those scheduled jobs, and perform that scheduled work accordingly. Good to go there? Any questions? Okay, perfect. So let me give you a reminder here on some of those best practices. So remember to use the bulk waitlist feature when it comes to your irregular jobs to stay efficient. You can bulk edit waitlisted jobs all at once, so reassign it to different crew, a priority level, change the dates, whatever the case might be. And you can apply unique filters by those column headers, such as with the status to view any past due, upcoming, future, or attention status for those waitlisted jobs as well. Now, I know some of you may be wondering, okay, well, is there a place for me to view an entire list or a dashboard of all of the different scheduled jobs I have in my account and keep track of all of that information? Absolutely, there's tons of dashboards and reports that you can utilize for your reference. So I'm going to kind of highlight one of the main ones here that we have, which is basically called the schedule review screen. So it's found under, again, go to schedule and go to schedule review. So within this specific screen, you can be able to manage the jobs that are scheduled, overdue, skip, started, complete. Remember those visit status options that we saw earlier. You can adjust the date range, the work calendar, the service, and the schedule crew. And you can also print this view as well. So for now, let's say we want to schedule out, or we want to view our entire list of jobs that we had for that specific day. Literally all of those 8 jobs will show up on the screen for that specific crew. So that way I have a quick little glance and a dashboard for my reference of what was actually scheduled for that date. Now, just like we've saw moments ago on the waitlist tool, I can go in bulk for all of these 8 jobs, and I can hit edit. And this is where now I have the ability when it comes to the different options I want to change. So maybe I want to change a visit status or assign it to a crew or change a scheduled date, and then the delete visit option as well. Okay. Now, in addition to all of that, if you're on the professional and enterprise subscription, you will have the SMS feature and capabilities as well. So depending on what subscription level you're on, in bulk, you can also send that message. That's just another way for you to be able to notify if any jobs are rescheduled or things of that sort of nature. But for now, let's say I want to go ahead and change the scheduled date. So maybe I want to move it to the following date. In one shot, instead of going to the job and manually doing that and using a drag and drop, in one shot, they're moved right away. Same thing will go for the scheduled crew if I shift them to another crew from here. Okay, so this dashboard gives you a lot of that key information and capabilities because it's not just a static dashboard, very similar to a waitlist section where you can move things or bulk update it to save a lot of time down the road for your company. Now, at this point, I want to go ahead and bring you back into the whiteboard. As I promised earlier, I want to highlight that route optimization in real time. And to do that, I'm going to also bring up the Crew app so you can see this in one shot. So let's go to our whiteboard, and under this crew that we have clocked into that one job and completed it, I'm going to optimize this for a moment. Okay, so what you can see now, if I bring up the Crew app and you have a side-by-side comparison, let's say I'm going to go to this date. I'm going to go to my crew schedule. We'll select our crew. Immediately that order is maintained. So you can see we have 34 Richwood Drive. We have 322 Palliser Crescent. So as you can see right over there. And then we have 25 Myrtle Street. And as you can see, that's at the bottom. So that is instantaneous in real time when it comes to route optimization. So no additional need to go and call or send a message or anything like that to the crew lead or the crew lead to the office. They have that exact visibility in real time through the Crew app. So there's no hesitation on which job site they should be going to next throughout their day. Okay. So just wanted to bring you back for a moment, but that's pretty much it on the Crew app that I wanted to kind of highlight for today's session. All right, perfect. Now, some of the other additional features that I want to cover off with you here. So basically, if you want to view another dashboard where instead of seeing all jobs that were scheduled, maybe the unscheduled jobs, meaning they're still waiting to be put onto the calendar. We have another dashboard here called unscheduled jobs. Now, what I want you to keep in mind here is this list should be as small as possible. We don't want you to have any unscheduled work because honestly, if it's going to be unscheduled, it means a customer is ready to pay because there is a contract built on the system and a job was created by your project manager. Well, if a job was created, well, that means you had approval from the estimate. Unscheduled is meaning that basically the customer is ready for that service to be completed at their property, but you have not actually scheduled it in your records. So I'm going to leave it up to you, but every week or bi-weekly, you want to make sure this list of unscheduled jobs will be as small as possible. Now, to narrow down this search, you can go ahead and search by a task, or you can filter based on different options through like the jobs. Let's say maybe I'm going to choose a different task for today. Let's say that's going to be our pruning. And all of the jobs related to having that pruning task will be listed out here. And then from this unscheduled report, I can just click on schedule and then follow the exact same process for me, right? Select recurring job, choose the template, and then follow that exact same process. So at this point, do I expect all of you in today's training to like have one of the waitlist visits already built out, have like all of this process understood with the unscheduled reports and like multiple jobs already scheduled for today's date? Absolutely not, because at a different pace. And in today's training, we want you to essentially see the full package of the software when it comes to your maintenance schedule. So hopefully you got the idea that you can follow the exact same steps to accomplish this task of scheduling, but it can be done in a variety of different methods, specifically 5, through the job list, the calendar, the whiteboard, the bulk schedule, or the wait list. And it'll be up to you and your team to see which will be the most ideal to fit within your business operations going forward. Okay. So at this point, another element I want to cover here, because you saw this earlier on the whiteboard, the unscheduled routes. So what are those all about? Well, essentially, you're going to be programming a route here where you'll add in all the jobs at the particular service. So if I take a look at my cleanup service here, we have listed all of those different jobs with the total hours and information. And basically, this unscheduled route, it's going to be on hold, right? You don't need to worry about it. But if you want to save that as a job group and optimize it, you can do that as well. And then when you go to your whiteboard, simply you can go to the crew that you want to add that unscheduled route to and basically select it from the list accordingly. Okay, so go ahead, select that spring cleanup, and then everything you can program from there. Finally, as promised, I want to highlight some of the key reporting and analytics for your company to use day in and day out through your business operations. So definitely a lot of data-driven insights for your team. So for example, if I go ahead into my dashboards here, I can go to the schedule analytics. So this is going to be a great place for you to basically be able to see any overdue visits that you have all time versus this month. Overdue visits last 7 days, active jobs unscheduled, active tasks unscheduled. And then as I was mentioning earlier, where you have some crews that fall sick for a day, or if you ever need backup required, this is a great place for you to see any busiest crew schedules versus least busy for both today and tomorrow. So that gives you an idea based on your scheduled crews who will have the capacity if ever there is some backup that's going to be required on various jobs throughout the week or throughout the month and season. And if you go into the reports, under the scheduling, this is where if you want multiple scheduled visits based on even like a job group of that printable report I showed you earlier. So maybe I want to generate all of the scheduled visits for that cleanup group that we were scheduling out in bulk earlier. I can go ahead and basically select it. And LMN will generate that report with all those scheduled visits. So then I can print this out for my reference and look at that. All of the visits are there. If it's completed or not, it will tell you. But essentially, you don't need to write down this information manually. It's all digitized, and you could save it for your team going forward. Okay. So that is basically all of the key elements that I wanted to cover on the schedule maintenance side of the training for today. So at this point, just want to kind of go through a quick little recap and summary on every single component that we've covered, just to make sure all reassured on every single talking point for today's session. So starting in the beginning, the first half, we explored the schedule settings in preparation for scheduling our maintenance work. So this included our work calendars, our schedule crews, and the naming format for how our job name will look like on the actual job schedule. Once we have that finalized and we set that up, the next thing we navigated to, which was strictly for your recurring or maintenance work, were the schedule templates. So you identified all the services your company will offer to your end clients, put them together in a template, or if you wanted to build any customer packages like bronze, silver, and gold, you can do so like that. And then basically we identified how often those services will take place, what is the actual schedule type, is it waitlist, manual, or weekly, and when do we actually offer those services throughout the season. Once that entire foundation was set up, we then dived into one of the specific service jobs we built out from earlier last week. And we went ahead through the first method, through the job itself, where we went to schedule visits and schedule the job from that screen at that point. And we also learned how to print the job schedule from there as well. So that was the first method. The next two were the calendar view and the whiteboard. So I showed you some advanced capabilities and tips and tricks along the way with using those two methods as well. And as we moved into the second half of today's training, we learned some more efficient methods to schedule jobs in bulk, or also to put jobs on the wait list for any of the services that you know that you're not sure when you have the opportunity, but there's still a service that you offer to your customers, how to put them onto your wait list, and then take them off of the wait list and put them onto your actual work calendars so your crews can go through the crew app and be able to clock in and out those scheduled jobs and keep track of that information. Last but not least, we wrap this up with some different reporting and dashboards, such as the schedule review and unscheduled jobs, along with the route optimization through the whiteboard, and some detailed analytics for your team to see the busiest versus least crew schedules. Okay, So those are pretty much all of the key components we've covered here in today's session. At this point, to make sure you're all engaged on all the topics I've covered, I have a quick poll, and if each and every one of you could participate, that would be awesome. It's 3 quick questions about the topics we have covered in today's session. Just want to make sure you do your best. If any questions come to mind, definitely let me know. But I'm going to leave that poll on for quite a bit of time here, just to give you some time to work through that. While you're completing that poll, if you do have any additional questions for me, definitely go through the chat or the Q&A. More than happy to work through those with you as we wrap things up with some additional resources for today. Okay, I see a question coming in here. I'm a little confused on the difference between schedule templates and bulk scheduling. What is the difference? So this is a great one. So specifically, when it comes to your schedule templates, you're breaking down all of the services that your company is going to offer to one specific customer, and then you'll be able to use that to schedule your maintenance jobs accordingly. But with bulk scheduling, you're going to work off of that template, but the difference is you can schedule only one service, but for a variety of different customers in the same neighborhood. But by building that schedule template in advance, you at least have a foundation to simplify that process going forward. Great question there. Appreciate that. Okay, another question coming in here. How can I provide my crews with a digital copy of all customers they need to see for that day? So this will be that print crew daily report within the whiteboard screen. So when you go to your crew actions for that crew, you can print a crew daily with seeing all those hours, notes, job sites, job addresses, and all of that information. And that will be the printout you can give to them. All right, it looks like everyone completed the poll, so round of applause for you all. Great job on completing a poll. Thanks so much for jumping in there. Really do appreciate it. If any additional questions do come through, definitely let me know as I'm wrapping up here. Some of the resources, number one, I want to talk about our live virtual trainings, such as the one I'm hosting with you here today. If you really enjoyed this session, you want to attend more of these. Again, a reminder, you can always attend these weekly for free. There's no additional cost for that. And whenever you hire someone new on your landscaping team, it's simply a great way for them to get trained on LMN. So to help you out a little bit, I'm going to share the link for your reference, and you should see that through the chat. And I'm going to actually bring you back into LMN just to kind of pinpoint how simplified that process is for registering for these sessions and being able to see all of the different courses that we offer. So give me a quick moment here. Okay, so as you can see, if you scroll through here, you'll be able to see all of the courses that our company offers, such as even the one we hosted for today with scheduling maintenance. In addition to that, you basically have a calendar view where you have the ability to basically select any of the dates where we're offering these courses and be able to simply register on the fly for any of these sessions. Now, in addition to all of that, the times and all of that will be listed here as well. So you're going to notice it's all in Eastern time zone. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're planning ahead when it comes to signing up for these courses as well. Just going to give you a second. I'm going to show you exactly where to go. Okay, so if we go ahead and just give me a second here. So essentially we'll be able to go ahead, click on the course if we want to get more information, and that'll take us to the main landing page as well. So just a heads up for your reference. Okay, further to that, we also do have our 4-day in-class Academy certification program that is coming up. So definitely want to make sure you leverage that. So definitely if you're interested in that 4-day in-class in-person environment, you have the ability to meet myself and the rest of my education team in person. So definitely make sure to check that out. I have also just gone ahead and I'm going to share that link with you for reference through the Zoom chat. There you go. And for those of you that are also dealing with the snow side of the business, we do have a 2-day in-class person training environment for that topic as well. So I've also shared the link for registration for your reference. Okay, so definitely make sure to go through that. And then don't forget to sign up for our Mastermind weekly sessions that take place live every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, a great way for you to gain valuable insights into industry-specific topics. Again, not only LMN related, a variety of different options available for you. So if I go ahead and basically share that, so you should see that link in Zoom. And then finally, tons and tons of educational resources available from the Academy all the way to the help desk for more detailed step-by-step guides and tutorial videos on all the topics that we have been talking about today. Now, you've all been really great. Appreciate all of the engagement and questions throughout. As a quick little bonus, I'm going to show you exactly where to find some of those educational resources. So if I go into LMN, you're going to go into the bottom of your screen and go to Help and Resources. And this will take you to both the live virtual training in addition to the Academy. And then also we have the help desk where you can find all those detailed guides. Now, very quick, if I go ahead and I take you to those links that I shared with you earlier. So if I go to the Academy certification program, just to give you kind of a quick little tutorial, this is where you have the ability to see the different sessions that we offer. So I'll click on, for example, the 4-day sessions that we have coming up. Okay, so if I scroll through to the bottom, you're going to be able to see that information. There we go. And then you'll see that we offer both the beginner sessions in addition to the intermediate and advanced. So all you need to do, you'll be able to click here for more detailed course information. And here is going to be where you have the sign up link for each of those different sessions if you're interested in registering for these and attending that in-class, in-person training environment. Okay. One other quick favor to ask you all, once today's training is actually coming to a close, you're going to see a 2-question survey pop up on your screen, letting us know any detailed feedback you have about Schedule Tool and how that's going to help you with your maintenance operations going forward. But in addition to that, if you have any detailed feedback or insights about my training with you here today, it would be highly appreciated. So please take a moment of your time. Definitely fill that out. We read through all those comments and will be super informative. With all of that being said, it's a pleasure speaking with you all today and going through some of your questions here from our LMN crew to your crew. Thanks again for joining. If there's any further questions you have after today's training about scheduling your maintenance work, definitely reach out to the team at LMN. Have a great rest of the day, everyone, and take care.